my sweet dear magical friends. Welcome, willkommen to Saturn Salon. I have some wonderful news for you, especially if you are watching this anytime before May the 12th, 11th of May 2023. I am calling this special episode of Saturn Salon Cash Out This Weekend. Okay, so when we have some support from Saturn, we want to take it. We want to take what we can get and make it go as far as humanly possible. So let's go ahead and dive into why you should be excited for this upcoming weekend. This upcoming weekend, we have Saturn at 6 degrees of Pisces, recently entered into Pisces, forming this really beautiful trine over to, okay, Saturn's not the one forming it. It's Venus. Venus is at 3 degrees of Cancer, but Saturn's being hit, being assuaged, being calmed, being, you know, it's like someone walks in and says, you know, take a chill pill, have a seat, relax, you know, it's okay. I'm calling this weekend cash out because you have this Venus energy coming in to sort of just caress. It's just a nice, gentle caress of some of the work that you've been doing, some of the harshness of reality, you know, the reality stick hitting us over the head. And, you know, you want to use that, you know, and it's not a sextile, which is just an opportunity that you have to make the most of. This is a trine. So this is like someone, you know, your neighbor comes over with like a freshly baked pie, or, you know, cornbread, or like something that's just like, thank you. Or, you know, you're at work and someone brings in, you know, homemade food, or gets, you know, fresh tamales for everybody or something like that. You know, it's like a given. It just like lands in your lap. So I want you guys to make the absolute most of this weekend, keeping in a little bit of good measure. I'm going to start with that first. I'm a bad news first type of person. I'm always going to give me the bad news first. Let's deal with that. I'm a Saturn. Oh my God, my coffee tongue is epic today, you guys. Like my little Capricorn, speaking of which, Capricorn, Saturn ruled tongue and coffee cup today. So, you know, bad news first and then the good news. So the only bad thing about this weekend, and I'm just looking at this Saturn Venus connection, Venus will also make a sextile to the Mercury retrograde in Taurus, which honestly, I should have hyped this up a lot more. I personally did not know how big of a deal this Mercury retrograde was going to be. I was looking at it and saying, you know what, it's not going to hit Algol, so it's not going to be like heinous, you know, it's not going to be this like really super destructive Mercury retrograde, so I knew that we were all going to be fine. I didn't know how amazing it was going to be. I totally like, I would have hyped it up a lot more. So even, you know, that looks amazing, looks absolutely wonderful. The only negative about this weekend, about you cashing out, you know, this is a time to take your profits. Your investments are doing so well that you can take the profits. And I'm just sort of like analogizing that to you, whatever you've got going on in your life, because, you know, that's just like how I want you to sort of, you know, visualize this and feel this as, you know, this plays out in your relationships, in your situations, in your, you know, money, career, whatever this is hitting in your chart. All right, so the bad news first. Bad news first is that this is just because it's Venus hitting Saturn, this is just temporarily, this is going to help a situation, but it's not going to fix something. Okay, so if things have you've already been mending something, you've already been working on something, this can be a really wonderful boost to help it, but it's not going to do all of the heavy lifting. Okay, so you've already been doing some heavy lifting with this 6 degrees of, you know, whatever you've been doing in the Pisces area. You know, if this is your third house, you've had to like rein in how you speak, how you communicate. You've been having to be more responsible for how you communicate, and just be more serious about, you know, meaning what you say and saying what you mean. This is your relationships. Your relationships have been just giving you all these opportunities to show up as responsibly and as maturely as possible. You haven't been able to get away with you know, flimsy connections, you know, so on and so forth. We talk about all of this over on the Patreon, patreon.com/𝚃𝚑𝚎𝚘. We have, you know, a lovely little community over there, lots of sub clubs. So this Saturn Salon is kind of like our sub club for YouTube. So, okay. Bad news first is that it's just temporary. It's not going to do all the heavy lifting. It's going to help out whatever's been going on. If you've been doing really hard work, this is going to make it a little bit easier. You're going to be able to push the thing a little bit further along. And if things have been very difficult, this is maybe a little bit of a reality check where you're ready to start doing the work. If it's been a little bit more like, you know, people making errors and mistakes, depending on how bad they are, this can either help you sober up and understand, help you understand the meaning behind the errors, so that it'll help you ingest the lesson, help it really penetrate. And you know, it's like you don't learn the lesson until you have like a consequence to it. So it could be that, depending on where you are in this, like in the situation, in the lesson learning. If you're beyond that point, then this can be, you know, damage control for some people. You know, if the eclipse this past weekend was like really bad, this can really help with the damage control of it. So the bad news is that, you know, it's just going to be sort of brief. You got the 1 weekend to cash out. And just a heads up, don't overread the transits, okay? Don't overread into astrology. It's a confirmation bias type of thing, where if you want to see something, you know, especially if you're studying astrology, you're going to look for the confirmation, and you're going to look for as much as you can pull out of it if you wanted something to go. Okay, we all do that, so be honest with yourself about that. Personal story, I remember I was dating someone, I was getting to know someone, and we were going to go on this like weekend away sort of like vacation thing, and it was on a Venus Saturn, you know, positive aspect, Venus Saturn, and I overread it. I thought, oh my god, this is going to be so stabilizing, it's going to be so affirming. And it did have that quality. There were, you know, things that came up, and it was very, it had a tone of like a stabilizing love, you know, like we're on the same page and we're committed, and it's like, you know, it had that vibe to it. That weekend didn't work out, didn't last ultimately, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying, like, it could be a great weekend to cash out on some of this stuff, you know, if people are especially showing up very sober and very mature, you know, that's appropriate, that's wonderful, that's like very on point. But it's going to pass. So it's like, you know, maybe someone gets in the mood to be more, I don't know, whatever, mature, but it may not stick, it may not last. And this is Saturn Salon, and this is the Saturn baby, so I got to put it up front at the beginning. Okay, now let's get to the rewards. So you are going to cash out on some of that good karma, you know, that you've earned this weekend. Okay, you are going to be feeling like something is taking shape and taking form, and that you're believing in it, that it's like something is showing you, on the positive side, a very healthy, consistent indication that you can sort of have faith in something, or that you can, you know, if you've already been building on something, or if you've already been going on something, getting to know someone, working on a creative project, or what have you, then that's when you want to use the weekend to like continue that and try to embed it and try to really planting the seed to take root. Okay, planting the seed, you want it to take, you know, you want it to catch. You want it to really, you know, hook in and make it something that lasts, make it something that can stand the test of time. Venus Saturn is that ugly duckling that, I'm a Venus Saturn. So I just, you know, the Venus Saturn people, we really get better as we get older. Okay. So this has a quality of something deepening, or something getting better or becoming more valuable the longer that it's in existence. Okay, so like I said, if you're getting to know someone, you know, if it's like meant to be, this can be a great time to like get to, maybe it's been like really fun and hot to trot, but this is like a weekend where you're spending time together, and you talk maybe a little bit more about things that are you know, more serious, or, you know, maybe you open up or just talk about some things that are a little bit deeper, that convey more trust and communicate more trust. Venus in Cancer is really mushy, really gooey. I like that we have Venus in Cancer, because that Cancer area of life has just been under freaking emotional hijacking with Mars in Cancer. It's either people have been like throwing temper tantrums and very excessively emotional displays of their feelings, or they've been the opposite and they've been locked down and very like they might look very cold or cool on the top, but they are actually very tightly controlling their emotions. Now, on the negative to that, that could be that people have been a little bit more passive aggressive. That's what it is. A bit more passive aggressive, where like Mars in Cancer can just be that. That's weird. She's talking to me. I'm not really trying to channel anything. She's saying this. Oh. Okay, thank you. Oh my God, this is an old, I haven't thought of this in years or something. This is like an old joke that someone told me, my friend. How does mother get her son to change the light bulb? She says, "That's okay, I'll just sit here in the dark." That's this Mars in Cancer, where it's like, oh, it's like where they're not being excessively emotional. She's just giving me this. She interrupts me, and it's weird because I'll be thinking my thoughts and I'll be talking and thinking and talking, and then I hear this other voice on top of that, and it's really like, it's weird. Anyway, so that's for someone, but people don't have to be like the loud emotional hijacker that I've described. People can also be this like, okay, I'll just go without, and just really sink in that freaking guilt, like that. Oh, speaking of which, perfect for Mother's Day, all the mother's guilt and stuff like that. That's just like the most, I love this for Mother's Day, but this is the, if that Mars in Cancer has been it's like, okay, I'll just keep being a martyr. I'll just keep suffering. It could be a little bit, it could be both, but it's aggressive, it's weaponizing emotions, it's weaponizing feelings, and it's freaky. It's really freaky. So I love that Venus is coming in to be a little bit, giving it a little love, to be honest, because it's just been so like it's been emotionally demanding. So the connection to Saturn and Pisces, another very spiritual energy. The water signs are especially spiritual. You have this gift of a transit this weekend to go sort of the extra mile and prove and show. This is definitely very much about like a proof of love, proof of affection, proof of like intent. Oh, I was tempted. I was either gonna do Saturn Salon for this video, or I was gonna try to do like a little bit of astrology on the writer's strike. The WGA is on strike right now, and that's one. Okay, we'll compare these two. So for instance, you've got this Mars is about to finish up in Cancer. Okay, and before any planet leaves a sign, there's like a thing. Okay, there's like a thing that happens. It's like a gift, or it's a thing. And once Mars leaves Cancer, there's going to be a thing, and then they're going to enter Leo, and immediately there's going to be this like, there's going to be a lot happening. There's going to be a lot happening next weekend and after that. So so Mars is still going to be agitated for a while, like for the rest of the month, even when they move into Leo, because Leo's where we're going to have a Venus retrograde. So it's like Mars is going to bang it up in Leo, and then Venus is going to enter Leo, but instead of assuaging anything that was agitated like they are right now in Cancer, they're going to go retrograde. So they're not going to be like useful or helpful. So Mars is doing the most. So let's do this for this weekend. Let's try to cash out this weekend and make the absolute most of it, because we got to use everything that we've got going, and that's what you do with astrology. You make the most of what you have at any given moment. There's always some astrology, there's always something happening with the vibe. So that's what astrology is for, is with the timing, is to know when to push and when to pull back, and know when to keep it, and when to like go ahead and assert your will and all that kind of thing. So this weekend you've got that really nice stabilizing, and this is like a spiritual stability, where you're feeling probably really good if something has been growing or developing, or if you've done something hard, if you've done something difficult over, this past week with the lunar eclipse in Scorpio, it's, and even the solar eclipse April the 19th, which is actually getting activated now up until like next Monday, Tuesday, before Jupiter leaves into Taurus, more so like the weekend. So there's a lot happening right now. You've been asked to make some kind of sacrifice, but it's likely a sacrifice that it wasn't that big of a big deal, like overall. The lunar eclipse in Scorpio, whatever you're like losing or letting go of, and that was last Friday, the 5th of May. You were feeling it leading up to it in the beginning week of May, and it's been playing out. It's, a situation's been playing out, relationships have been playing out. Whatever you're giving up, letting go of, or changing, it's likely something that's not, it wasn't healthy for you to hold on to anyway, or it's a sacrifice that you're willing to make so that you can have something better, or that you can do something better, or it's just something that it just needed to be taken care of. But it's kind of a big deal because it's like the last Scorpio eclipse, so let the flesh happen. And this weekend with Venus in Cancer saying, hey, it's okay to have needs, it's okay to be emotional, it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to express yourself. It's because Mars in Cancer is like, you're probably just not going to express your feelings, your needs, ideally. It's probably going to be coming with that, I'll just sit here in the dark, or or even more aggressive than that. Whereas Venus in Cancer is saying it's okay to have needs, but maybe not guilt people into meeting them. Or, it's okay to be vulnerable, or it's okay to need more time alone or more time with me, So it's like you want to use this weekend to air that out and have a mature conversation about, whatever Mars has been riling up, whatever, if it's a need to express yourself, if it's a need to get more pay for yourself, for your family, or reduce your hours to spend more time with the family, whatever needs to be sort of regulated, whether that's people kind of leaving your life, or you sort of pulling back from certain relationships to invest in other relationships, whatever that looks like, you're going to be able to use the energy of the weekend to reconcile whatever that is for you, whatever that means for you, and feel really good about it when you lean into the maturity. And this is more of a spiritual maturity with Saturn in Pisces. Whatever is concretizing in Pisces, it's going to be such a big deal over the next couple of years that it's okay if it's struggling right now, because it's 6 degrees out of 30 in Pisces. Saturn's going to go retrograde a couple of times, so don't, if you were hoping for something to stabilize with Saturn in Pisces, it's okay if it's having some kind of difficulty. It's gonna take a couple of years to really work itself out. So that's the thing with Saturn, is you always want to play the long game. Okay, so I know we're just looking at this little itty bitty weekend, Venus, Saturn, but you can, I'm saying that so that you have an appropriate expectation. Adjust your this is a great weekend for adjusting your expectations. And whether that's getting really excited, like let's say you walked into the lunar eclipse. Okay, here's the thing about the eclipse, is that what we have to deal with it is going to revert to our highest level of spirituality that we've been doing with our shadow selves, and with our spiritual work, and with our maturation of the soul's development. It's gonna knock down, because our conscious minds are just, the adrenal glands are going, we have physical bodies, the hormones are going, so we all drop down to the most as far as we got subconsciously, doing our work on the subconscious, and that's what revealed itself to everyone. And so there were likely everyone little snafus, at the very least, 2 really big, really big uh-ohs. Okay, so it's like, whatever you were dealing with, you were dealing with it at the highest level of your subconscious. So it's more about the work that you've been doing when times are a lot easier on yourself, so that when times are really critical and are really demanding, that's the best quality of yourself with which you have to meet the situation. So you know you're doing really well if you kind of recognize this needs to go, and I need to dispose of this, I need to take care of this, especially with the moon going into Capricorn this week. It's really been about taking care of business, taking out the trash, taking care of everything. But because earlier in the week it trine over to Taurus town, it was like, I'm doing it for the future. I'm doing it for ingenuity. It's about that Sun Uranus at the beginning of week around like Monday the 8th. That was about taking a good idea and turning it into a genius idea. You know what I'm saying? It's a leveling up. You were challenged to do that. So this weekend, Venus in Cancer, trining over to Saturn in Pisces, you're going to get something. So if people have been really resistant to letting go of things, they're probably going to get more of a reality check. They're probably going to get more of like a sobering up influence. But if you were able to meet things a little bit more head on, if you were able to deal with the lunar eclipse in Scorpio from a place of that self-awareness, which you all have because you've been watching these videos. And so, you already knew what was coming. The Knights on Patreon already knew this was coming in their monthlies, and they knew how it was going to hit their chart and all the 12 zodiac signs for your sun, moon, and rising. So you guys are adequately prepared. And then when the thing does come up, you meet it with as much as you got, as mature as you are in that moment and what have you. So the fallout's going to be, this weekend as well, with the waning quarter moon in Aquarius. But this Venus Saturn is what you want to use. Okay, whatever you put your focus on is where your energy is being sent and released into, and that's what's going to grow and develop, and that's what you're going to channel into and from. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's quality. I love that about Venus Saturn. Venus Saturn's about just quality, higher standard. I love that. I just love that so much. It feels so good to work so hard and to get the win, because that's what Saturn wants to do for you. Saturn wants to be good to you, wants to give you rewards, wants to give you your dreams coming true, wants to give you exactly what you want. But they know that you won't appreciate it until you work really hard for it. No one appreciates anything that's free, that you get a free pass on, that's so easy, that just, it just lands in your lap. It just, here's the silver spoon, no one appreciates that. No one's going to really appreciate that. They don't have to, physically, go to work. If they have a spouse that supports them, they're going to get complacent, or they're going to take it for granted. They're going to, unless they've had that perspective of maybe having to start from scratch, or maybe start over in life again a couple of times. That's just one example. It doesn't mean anything, but so this Saturn Venus, I feel like you could take a lot of pride in how hard you're working on something. All right, so give yourself some spiritual encouragement this weekend, that no matter where you are with this, if you're like, oh my God, I have to do so much damage control, or whether you're like, oh wow, this is really amazing, I'm so happy, and I'm cashing out on, because some people this weekend, you're going to get some kind of promotion, you're going to take the next level in a relationship, you're going to, what I'm saying, like there is going to be some kind of concretization, or even spiritually within yourself, you're going to feel like you've got more juice for the long haul, or you're going to feel like, I've got some really great things to look forward to way down the line, but I will take care of what's right in front of me first, so that I can get that bigger reward down the line. Okay, so Saturn in Pisces, like I said, and we talked about this in the previous Saturn Salon, that there's something popping off in Pisces in a couple of years, and then so it's you're just at the very beginning. So whatever it is, if it's a sober realization, tuck in for the long haul, take the lessons that you're trying to learn and integrate them. And that's all you have to do is, in the moment, is to sit with yourself and just meditate on, on the lessons of maturity or wisdom or whatever this happens to be for you. And, there can be a concretization of a feeling. And this is immaterial. These are water signs. It's immaterial, invisible. Is a feeling real if you can't hold it in your hand? Yes, of course it is. So, this concretization could be, it could be manifesting externally if that's how it's working in your chart, but take it more of the spiritual benefit of cashing out spiritually, that something is hardening and concretizing and stabilizing within yourself, that you are feeling really solid about, that you feel like, okay, I feel good about this. This is where this is going, and I'm very, very happy about where this is going, how this is developing. And it's a positive Venus Saturn will feel secure about that, whereas maybe an afflicted Venus Saturn could be very either resentful of maturely meeting something, or for instance, okay, so the writer's strike, WGA writer's strike. This Mars in Cancer has been like having needs and having like a loudness to these needs, right? And the writers have these needs, that need to be met. But for instance, the studios, seeing what they've come out with, oh my God, I am so grateful. I cannot tell you, as someone that aspires to be part of the WGA, cannot tell you how grateful I am for these people that are striking, because holy moly masacholi, they have no consideration. And these are lawyers, or not like these across from the negotiating table. That's what I saw when I was on the SAG-AFTRA national committee for the negotiation of the TV theatrical contract. They're lawyers, like they're not really invested or participating in the industry in a way that they're going to care about the ecosystem of the community, of the filmmaking community. They're just not, it's not their job. You can't expect that from, you know what I'm saying? So, what they're trying to do, they're doing what they're being hired to do, and it's without any kind of care or consideration for the culture of filmmaking or the culture of the people that make films and television shows. So I am like immensely grateful. So that Mars in Cancer has these needs. And here's the thing with the lunar eclipse in Scorpio this past weekend is threats. I want to talk about threats. So if anyone's been threatening or making threats or saying things or, what have you, there's a difference. You have to be able to discern which threats to take seriously and which are not real. Okay, let's start with the first one. So the threats to take seriously. So the WGA sent out the strike, what's called a strike authorization vote, for those of you not unaffiliated or not in a guild or union or don't know about it. Send it out to membership saying, hey, we don't like the way this negotiation is going. Do you membership authorize us to strike if we need to? I think it came back with an extremely high percentage, like 97, 98, 96, 97, 98% of a yes, absolutely. And then they struck the bell. Then they did it. They followed through on their intent. So it was a threat that was extremely serious and meaningful. You have to be able to discern between what is a meaningful threat and what's not. Okay, so we can see that no, these writers are serious. This is egregious. This is our livelihoods. It is our life on the line. Just like when you're writing the first page of your screenplay, it is do or die. When I write the first page is the most fun for me to write, and it's the most like, I get super hyped up. I get super, super hyped up about it because it's just so dramatic. For me, I'm a Cancer rising, so like the drama can be really fun, clearly. My little cape here, I love the drama. I love these heightened emotions. It can be so delicious. So for some of you, the Mars in Cancer hasn't been so combative. It's been delicious. It's been fireworks. It's been passionate. It's been wild. So, WGA is saying, we don't fuck with us. Okay. Don't stop. Quit dicking around. We're not backing down on this. And you've got to push that far back. You got to push it far back. You are nowhere near where you need to be to respect us. And this is all going back to Scorpio lunar eclipse, teaching other people how you want to be treated. We're always teaching people how we want to be treated ourselves. And we're always getting feedback from other people how they want to be treated. And that's how relationships work. That's just how it is. So, you know, sometimes the lines need to be pushed back. Sometimes they're closer. You know, it's nothing is stagnant. Okay. So for instance, loving someone, it's not like I love you and that's it. To my couples, don't look at it that way. Don't look at it as I love you, I will always love you. No. You love your husband, you love your wife evolvingly. You love constantly learning who they are and who they're growing into and how they're growing and changing. That perspective shift is going to help you make it to the long term. Okay, make it to, you know, rocking chairs on the front porch. And that's going to help you give more room for people to grow and make mistakes and evolve and change and grow into whatever. So back to the strike authorization. So that's a meaningful threat. Okay. Now, in your personal relationships, if there was any threats coming up or people were like ultimatums, like if you do this, I'm going to do this, or any kind of manipulative power plays, that was part of what you're fleshing out, where you're like, I don't need this. I don't need this. But what distinguishes a meaningful threat from a non-meaningful threat, you have to take a look at what they're saying, what the threat is, and their motives, because most of the time threats are empty. And most of the time, if someone is threatening with something, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it, and you know they're not going to do it because they're talking about it, because they're threatening. If they're threatening to leave, they're not really going to leave because they're talking about it, because they're threatening and they're telling you. If they're threatening to whatever it happens to be, what the meaning behind that is they're making the threat because they want the effect of the threat. They want the effect, the manipulative effect of someone hearing the threat and taking it seriously. So they want to use that as a way to push their agenda forward or to get what they want without actually having to do anything, without having to follow through, without having to themselves change. So, you know, if there's been anything like that, like literally from like May 1st until now, use this weekend to really see it and really discern it, and really it'll help you shape your values. You know, maybe you're dealing with a recovering drug addict, alcoholic, and you know the Scorpio lunar eclipse just set off some kind of toxic compulsion, and they revert to their lowest common subconscious denominator, which is like you know, something not that positive, and you're like you're reeling and you're dealing with it. Maybe you're dealing with like a codependent person that the lunar eclipse triggered some kind of super freaky deep insecurity, and you're like dealing, and they threatened you and you got to deal with it, whatever. Maybe you have like an employee that's like, I don't know, something, you know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things I wanted to leave you guys with, is the discernment with these threats. A meaningful threat like the WGA strike, saying no, you got to push this shit far back. Like what these studios are coming out with, oh no, oh, you're not even close, man. You're not even close to a deal with us. You need to walk that shit far back, far back. And thank God that these writers are striking, because that's just unconscionable. What they're okay, all right, enough. That's not about that. So, but and then the non-meaningful threat, which is more probably like in the personal relationships, and people have got, you know, I hate saying that, a dog in the fight, but like skin in the game, you know, they've got some kind of. So look at their motives. Look at your own situation and look at the threats that people have made over the last couple of weeks. It's probably just posturing. They're probably not really going to do it, and they probably just want the effect. They want the effect of the threat more than they want to make the threat. Okay, we talk about, let me know if you guys want me to bring this back. It was a sub club on Patreon for my emperors and empresses, where we basically went into, this was part of the body language reading and intuition study that we were doing in that sub club. And we covered some of this, is understanding when someone, in that context, it was a threat to like women, you know, when like for stalkers and for, you know, all of, like, sometimes those threats are just empty threats because they want the effect. They want to see you squirm. They want to intimidate you. They want, you know, so I'm taking it a little bit out of context in the way that I talked about it before. In your instance, it could just be on a much smaller scale or a much, you know, lower stakes kind of a way. Those stakes were life and death stakes, where we were talking about discerning between what's a life and death situation and what's not a life and death situation. So, okay. This weekend, cashing it in, cash in your good karma, because, you know, this can help you advance your agenda. Saturn sets the agenda all the time in the sky. So whenever a planet comes up to, you know, old man Saturn or this, oh my God, if you guys want to get into your crone era, this weekend is so great for channeling the crone in you, the crone, you know, goddess, you know, witch or wizard like type energy, because Saturn is super magical, but like in a scary sort of way, and Venus is super beautiful, especially in Cancer. Venus in Cancer is like a comforting love, you know, like that's why Venus in Cancer is going to help assuage some of the Mars aggressiveness, but it's not going to last long. It's going to last like another week. And then it's not going to be as helpful. It's not going to be as great. So, you know, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to pop off, but it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. So don't make an immediate judgment if any of this is good or bad. See what you've got in front of you. Do the best you can with what you have. Let go of absolutely everything else and stay focused on being as happy and grateful and, you know, feeling as good as possible, as soon as possible, for as long as possible. And when the lessons come up, meet them with bravery and dignity. Meet your challenges with bravery and personal dignity. Digrity. Ah, I said dignity. I meant dignity and integrity. Digrity. That's my favorite Mercury. Let's add that to the list right now. Right now. Digrity. That's going on my Mercury retrograde list of words that I made up. I'm a fast typer, by the way. I think I have like, oh, what's my words per minute? It's really, really high. Let me see if I can find it for you guys really, really quick, because I want to brag about it. This is one thing that I feel good about bragging about, is my my words per minute. Okay, so I have two different accuracies. So I have a 90 word per minute with upper 90% accuracy, and for 100% accuracy, I'm at 81 words per minute. I'm like Craig Schwartz from being John Malkovich with the fingers. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. All right, enough about that. So, yeah, cash out this weekend, meet your challenges with dignity, and, you know, you're going to do fine. You're going to do great. You're going to do great. This is probably going to be a great weekend, a beautiful Mother's Day weekend, very appreciative. So this is going to be a weekend where people are going to be like, okay, you do a lot for us. You know, you do everything. Okay. You know, happy Mother's Day. It'll probably be very, very much like that, which, you know, is probably very appropriate. You know, there's probably, you know, this Venus is like a little softer, communicating the emotions a little bit softer. And that Saturn in Pisces is making us really concretize our values, our spirituality, and all that comes with what that means, what that looks like in living your day-to-day life. So, guys, enjoy the weekend. Have a lot of fun. This can still be really fun. This can still be very steamy. So, you know, if you haven't gotten enough, you know, blowjobs from your husband, this is a great time. That's where that, you know, or whatever happens to be. That can still be, you know, very, very spicy with this Venus in Cancer. It's like luscious and juicy and fertile and wet, and, you know, it's a very moist atmosphere this weekend. So there's a lot of moisture in the air, especially because Saturn's in Pisces. So you guys go ahead and enjoy that. I will check in on you guys next time. Until that time, my loves, you can book readings with me down below. You can join the Patreon community, join the sub clubs. What else we got going on? There's a lot of fun stuff, so check it out. Until next time, many beautiful blessings on all of your beautiful guys.